Hello, Christian Ethics class. This is Professor Opterbeck, and welcome to another week of our discussions and work in Christian theological ethics. Once again, I appreciate all the great discussion from last week. We dove into this topic with vigor about Christian theological ethics and church and state, and I really appreciate how all of you tried to wrestle with the really difficult kind of nuanced question of these relationships that we were dealing with in the forums. As you'll see, for this week, we continue and finish up our discussion of church and state, and we're really going to spend some time talking about the question of war. And I think for many of us, this is an issue that we kind of take for granted. Most of us probably aren't on the strong pacifist end of the spectrum, and maybe some of us are, but we don't really think maybe that carefully about, if we're not on that pacifist end of the spectrum, why not? And then if we aren't, what is our ethic of war, and how do we sort of contextualize that within the context of being a follower of Jesus, the one who gave us the Sermon on the Mount, and so on. And it raises some really interesting questions that historically have been difficult to work out in Christian ethics. So what I gave you for this week, as I hope you've started to see already, is some really good primary source reading. The Barmen Declaration by Karl Barth is one of the most important documents in political theology in the 20th century, and probably even kind of historically, given its historical context, and then a number of other documents for you to read. And then really some videos that I would actually call primary source videos in a sense. Some very interesting things from Karl Barth himself, who of course is no longer alive, but some good discussion of his own take on dealing with the Nazis and National Socialism and the German Church and the Barmen Declaration. Then some material on Dorothy Day, and then some material on sort of the classical just war theory. As last week, we only have one discussion forum for you to do, which again is kind of an applied sort of discussion. And I want you to really think about this carefully and kind of chew on it from different perspectives of how you might advise this person, kind of given the perspectives you're gaining on Christian theological ethics. As always, there's a quiz for this week. And don't forget that this week your first primary source summary is due. Submit it via Dropbox. I have some grading to catch up on just a little bit. I think I've graded just about all of the main forum posts. I have some follow-up posts to follow up on. And then during the week, I will see you in the forums. Have a great week.